Why is the jury laughing?
Zero chance of winning the game.
Supposed to talk glamour to you.
My grandmother's sitting home watching Jerry Springer.
Lee, is there any way I could have your jacket?
Welcome back to Survivor Breakfast. We are talking season 44, the finale, episode 13, I guess. Wow, what an absolute banger, to use Matt's words, of a finale and a season here. Kale, I gotta throw it to you first. Your main man, he did it. Oh, God. Hey, actually, you gotta stop that because we're gonna get a copyright strike. Actually, we're gonna get a copyright strike on the video if you don't stop doing that.
All right. Listen. Sorry about that. They'll never know. Listen. Jam. Congrats. Honestly, we've spoken about this ad nauseum. We were waiting for a season that would come together like this in the new era, is what we're saying. And all around, a great finale episode with a great winner to pioneer a call out that I've made for weeks now. So let's all clap it up for Mr. Jam tonight.
Woo, Jam. Let's be clear, though. Kale is way more happy to be right.
Yeah.
Than he is for Jam.
No.
Absolutely.
No. We'll dissect. I candidly believe that he is an iconic player that played a very good game. Like there's no doubt about it.
That's fair. It's very fair.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's no doubts about it. But let me bow the floor. Let me bow out of the floor and shift the spotlight. Mr. John Sosos, where's your head at right now?
Everybody out there who thinks, wow, Kale can't be a more gracious winner if he tried. Here I come in. I'm biting my tongue. No sour grapes here. Kale, I texted you today. I said, listen, if Jam Wins, I'm 99% satisfied. Do I want to be 100% satisfied? Everyone does. Everyone wants to be 100% satisfied.
You were hedging your bets.
Everybody
knew you were hedging your bets.
There is no hedging here. If people watching, if they want to know who's coming in second, listen to who I say is going to come in first. That's how it goes.
Candidly,
it's okay. Oh, not even
third.
second. Third.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna be real though. The no votes for Carolyn is an absolute disrespect.
I think so too. I'm down to talk about that as well. But I'm in two different wavelengths. One, congratulations, Kale. Good pick.
Thank you.
We've all been there. We've all been on the Tika train. I'm happy Atika brought it out. I'm very satisfied with the winner. I think Jam is a great winner. I think that he embodies a lot of the things that I love about Survivor. Like, he's not, the most physical guy, but he can kind of work a crowd. And he was able to do it tonight, and I was happy to see it. I really, truly was. I was happy to see it.
All right,
but
hold on. Yeah,
but
we're leaving the hook.
But I'm happy for you too.
No. That's not even where. That's not where I'm gonna point. Was he the deserving winner in your head?
I think that the deserving winner is who the jury decides is the winner.
Oh my God, that is the most political bullshit of all time.
Well, that's a take that I stand by. I'm good for who wins. The jury decides who wins.
If you were on the jury,
if I were on the jury, I would have voted for Carolyn. And I know that I'm biased, but I really do like what she brought to the table too. I liked her authenticity. I think that she was duplicitous in ways that she was able to convey, but maybe not nearly as well as Jam was able to convey, which, by the way, we've all agreed for the past few weeks. We've known Jam is the talker. I mean, Carolyn was afraid that Jam was going to go rile up the crowd, and she was right to be. Because I think that a lot of votes were swayed. I mean, I have infamously been saying that Franny is a locked vote for Carolyn. The fact that Franny said all these nice things about Carolyn afterwards but didn't write her name down is a little upsetting. I'm not going to lie.
She was up for great questions as well during the final tribal speeches.
She wanted to give her vote to her. She wanted it bad.
She wanted to. And I think that we saw a good Final tribal from Jam Jam. That's what it came down to. I don't think Carolyn did poorly. I just think that the odds were stacked against her when it comes to a forum like that because Jam Jam is better at that thing.
Of course. Go ahead, Sim.
Want to say though, I also picked Jam Jam last week, so I want to say that.
Oh, shut up!
Yeah, the flip flop
up.
master himself.
No way.
Onion. So I'm claiming that. Also, not as strongly as Kale, but I did pick him last week. But I will say, if I was on the jury and I listened to these speeches, I think I would have voted for Carolyn as well. And the reason I say that, the reason I say that is because I don't think that Jam Jam did a good job in articulating the criticism, a rebuttal to the criticism that the jury was giving him, which was Carson was the brains. How are you different than what Carson was leading you to do? And I don't know that he actually did that. And maybe I'm missing something. But it felt like that was the primary thing that they were like, hey, like Carson was the brains. How are you different than what he did? And his only real answer to that was like, I'm good at telling when people are lying.
Yeah, that was it. Carson didn't have the same ability. The reason that duo functioned in the manner that it did was because of Jam Jam's ability to read people. Carson was not able to read people just as well as Jam Jam was.
I tend to agree with that. I think that you're right with that. I don't know if that answers Simi's criticism.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I agree with what you're saying as well, Kale. I don't think he articulated that as
I thought that was his kill shot. I thought that was his kill shot in a big grouping of it. Candidly, I believe I'm going to come off as a really bad guy in this podcast tonight because I'm just going to I'm going to run with it because I really do think it was a mopping and why I'm going to beat you up a bit here, Toast, is that I really think you let the edit get away from you this season because Carolyn, I've been saying this for weeks, and I do think that she was a better player than she came off with to start and this and that, but I don't think she was even in the same realm as Carson and Jam Jam. She really didn't do anything. She from a gameplay of Survivor, of being strategic, maneuvering alliances, doing votes, she did nothing. I don't think that that's a fair characterization of what she did. I think talk to me about what she did. Because the one thing that she did do was find the idol and then create the chaos that she did at the Tika tribe, which she actually didn't articulate until after the vote to Red in the reunion. She didn't even talk about the Red X and the full story about it until after everything was over. That's what she should have spoken about when she was giving her speech about gameplay and things that she did. Because otherwise, she didn't do anything. She did just follow. I
don't think that that's a fair characterization. Like, I know you just interjected after I said that the first time, and I don't want you to do it again. But what I'm trying to say is I think that she showed that she was acutely self-aware of what was going on, and she did a really good job of getting around things as they were being thrown at her. And I feel like just 2 weeks ago, we were talking about how Carolyn is now a big threat that needs to go out. And now Heidi's getting a vote and Carolyn isn't. So I'm not tracking, I guess, is really what it comes down to. And that's fine. I came out from the get-go saying, good job, Kale. You got the read. But Carolyn was propped up to be a threat at some point in this game. She was not a threat, and then she became a threat.
I did say this for weeks. At a certain point, they need to make this epic for the finale's sake, so that when we get a 7-1 vote like we have gotten for the last 4 seasons in a row, a 7-1-0 vote, this is the most.
Yeah, but Carolyn should not be the 0 vote in this.
That's the point that I'm trying to make. I do believe. I actually don't think that Heidi should have gotten a vote. I think.
I don't get it at all.
I never not voted for Heidi.
Yes, I agree with that too. That's
which is
not voting for.
But what's crazy about that is that he made a claim that he wouldn't vote for his own mother up there if they didn't give a good argument.
He was lying.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Danny can say whatever he wants, but the vibe that I was getting, and maybe this is a misread, is that he was like, she was in my alliance with me. And so by voting for her, it's like I'm voting for me.
I'm happy to say that I don't think that was happening this season. I think that Jeff actually made like a little subtle dig at the past couple of casts by saying at the end before reading the votes, like, I really appreciate how you guys held them accountable, but you were very kind throughout the whole process. I think that was a little bit of a jab at the past couple of seasons because we know that Carlo was not very kind in the process of dismantling Cassidy's game. Right? We know that Jesse, he didn't really go about it the best way possible. And we know that the same thing happened with High the season before. And there were sour grapes. There's Shan, a little bit of sour grapes for the past three seasons.
Season 41, Deshaun,
Absolutely.
I don't think ever had a chance because of that realm. The last couple seasons of there's been situations. Again, that's a whole different dissection to really figure out juries.
We could talk to it. We could talk to that.
Clear, though, Toast, I don't think that for Danny it was a sourness or a.
It was a justification thing.
I think it was a justification thing.
But that's what. Sorry. So I know I said sourness, but really, what I diagnosed the last jury as was wanting, and the jury before that, wanting to not give away the credit that they have accumulated by voting for somebody who did something that I don't know. We've gone through it here.
No, I hear what you're saying, and I don't think it was that extreme with Danny. I just think that he was like,
yeah, you're my people. I got you.
Yeah.
And that stuff happens though along tribal lines. You know, I have to give credit to Heidi having the wherewithal to go into fire, having the guts to do it, and then absolutely crushing it.
For sure,
absolutely had to go into fire. That was like the
no. I
perfect decision
understand
for her
that, but
to
then
make in that
you set
scenario.
the record that was just set last season, no?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, listen, you got to give kudos to Heidi, but again, I saw a couple tweets out there as I was following along in the Twitter sphere. You really can't build a game up on just the fire making.
You can't. You can't run a 6-episode, bad gameplay into this last. I mean, unless you're Chris Underwood, I guess, because
but
that's the only other way to do it.
I understand that, but we talked about this a couple weeks ago too. And again, my praise of Carolyn and going along with it has really been edit based as well. But if you're gonna say that's bad gameplay for Heidi, Carolyn did the same thing a couple weeks ago that Jam Jam pointed out tonight. It was bad gameplay when she played her idol.
We've had this conversation. We've had this convo.
I understand that, but that's my point.
But I agree with you about that. But I think that her justification for it, not being able to trust what Lauren and Jamie were doing, is completely reasonable.
No,
yeah, but she had she had a bad read on the whole situation, though. She was wrong.
We agree that she was wrong to play the idol. But when she justified it, sorry, Simi, you want to say something? Go.
I just want to say, one, I don't think that those are comparable idol plays
at all.
I think
why are they not comparable?
I think you can have worse. They can both be bad, and one can be worse than the other.
I'm sure, but they're both bad.
You're telling me that Heidi's wasn't worse than Carolyn's?
No, but what the debate was is that I agree that in this hemisphere of we're just handing out a gold, a silver, and a bronze. I do think Carolyn should be silver, but I really do believe it should have been 8-0-0 tonight.
Okay, but you just brought up a specific point.
I do want to go back to your point, though, really quickly, Toast, of her justification. I think maybe what Kale is saying here is that if it were somebody like Jam Jam in that situation, he wouldn't have needed to trust them or not because he would have had the read.
Is what we found out tonight is that Jam Jam went up to Carolyn and said, I know that they're voting this way, that they're going to split the votes. That's what we found out tonight. We didn't get that in the episode.
But that's what we're debating here is that Jam Jam had the wherewithal to know the read the entire season. Carolyn never knew the read.
I don't
He
think that
never
that's.
knew the read.
I really don't think that that's true. And Carolyn isn't arguing that she's the one with the read. That's what I'm trying to say to you is that Carolyn came out with a different argument. It wasn't what the jury wanted tonight. The jury wanted steak and Carolyn was giving seafood. There's nothing you could do about that. I just don't think that Carolyn's game is now all of a sudden.
But that's what I'm asking you. Get really line up for me in specifics what she did other than playing. Like, I think she had all the elements to become this amazing player, because we've talked about these traits where she's going under the radar but you've said the entire time that she's been really, understanding that she's under the radar. But I've been saying the entire time that it's more so that.
So, Kale, is this just because of the idol play? If the idol play hit, you would have a different opinion?
Of course.
Okay. No, I'm genuinely asking.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Toast.
Well, I was just going to say, I think that, yes, we all came out and said that episode, we all came on the podcast. I think I was actually the first person to say it didn't need to be played. I agree it didn't need to be played in that scenario. But I do agree with her justification that Jamie and Lauren were hard to read in that scenario. Now, Jam Jam's coming to the table and saying they weren't hard to read because I had the read. And if you listened to me, then you didn't have to play the idol. But again, Jam Jam didn't know about the idol in the moment. Regardless, if she had trusted what Jam Jam said, apparently she wouldn't have needed to play the idol, right? And that's a good point. That's a great point to make. But I think that from her understanding, the justification for playing the idol made sense. We didn't see as the viewer that Jamie and Lauren were going to throw the votes on Heidi to do a split like that. And I think that her saying, I definitely needed Carson to stay an extra week, so I need to put the votes, I need to make sure Danny goes home. It makes sense. I don't think it's a bad justification for it. It's not great because she didn't need to play it.
What's getting lost in this conversation here is that I'm not debating if it's a bad justification, not a bad justification.
Oh, you brought it up. You brought up that one facet.
I'm just saying that Carolyn, I do think, is in the realm of best characters there ever was. I loved her on this season. I want to see her again. She's very deserving to be out on the island. But when you compare her game lined up, and this is why I wanted to know where you guys' allegiances lied about if you were sitting on that jury, who you would have voted for. I don't think it's even close. She didn't do anything other than finding an idol. She didn't do anything.
I will say, I think there is more stuff that. Okay, first of all, I do think that justification for the idol play could have been phrased better as well. I think
Kayla's arguing that this is a moot point. So
no, I know, but I think you. I'm saying it's not. I don't think it is a moot point because I think there is a way to give that justification that I think could turn that into more closer to a positive than it ended up being for her in that scenario where it really was more negative.
Yeah,
I think the justification that you have to give is a framing of self-awareness of saying, I know myself and that I'm not the best at reading people, and so because of that, I had to do the thing because of my self-awareness and how I play my game. I think there are ways that I'm not saying that
sure,
that was generally the way to do it.
I got you.
The other thing though that maybe me and Toast are accounting for, and Toast, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I definitely am, from Carolyn's standpoint, is that I think she is one of the best examples we've ever seen of somebody who played a loud, annoying person while still being truly self-aware of it. I don't think there are a lot of other players out there.
There aren't.
On that thing, and
there are not.
She's showed the potential for that kind of strategy that I think that there are other people in the future that are now actually going to actively use that.
Which I would love. Which I would love.
Almost go as far to say that Jam Jam did the strategy better. He did the same exact strategy better.
No, he didn't.
No, because he wasn't playing a. I don't know. I don't think he was as much playing the.
Jam Jam was never claiming to be not self-aware. Yeah, exactly. Jam Jam was never playing.
She was trying to play like I'm not self-aware, but actually she was.
But that's
Yes.
what we've been lost in the entire time, is that what is the percentages that we're equating that she actually was versus she actually wasn't. And again,
So,
I don't
Kale-
want this to be a
she
beat
Kale,
up
it's okay.
fest.
Kale,
She
I
has
think
quotes from earlier in the game.
yeah, she's been saying
she
it the
talks
whole
about
time.
this.
It doesn't matter, Kale. What your argument should be right now, and I
What do
would
you-
be able to.
all right, okay,
What I
wanna
would
hear
be
this. I wanna hear
listen,
this.
what your argument should be, and what I would be able to get on board with you is if you said yes, she did have self-awareness, she did good, she did well convincing the jury that she doesn't have self-awareness and it played to her strengths, but she didn't live up to the potential that she needed to live up to in order to beat Jam Jam, who was a very good player at the game. If you argued that, I would be like, I'm in. That's fine. Jam Jam played a great game. I'm all for it. But what you actually keep arguing is that she doesn't have the self-awareness. And that's
what I'm arguing is that the self-awareness that you guys are pitching that she did have, it didn't even convey to the jury. She didn't convince the jury of anything. She didn't convince the jury of one vote.
No, I think she did at least.
What? There is not one piece of evidence.
Self-awareness.
That's what I've been saying the entire time.
he keeps saying there's no evidence.
There is no evidence.
I can't
there was
believe
not
it.
one vote that went her way. There was not one vote that went
That's
her way.
not evidence against what we're saying.
So what is
That's just a different statement.
Yeah, that's a completely unrelated item.
That's
How
just
is
a
that
different
unrelated?
statement.
How
It's
is
just
that
a different
unrelated?
statement.
But you guys, I like what I cannot
What does
state
that have to do
enough.
with how she thinks people view her?
Because she didn't do it for the sake of Survivor. She didn't do it for the sake of strategy and Survivor. That's been your pitch, is that she was able to play in this role for the sake of building strategy and Survivor. My whole counterpoint is that it wasn't that. Is that she was good at Survivor, finding things, making friends and being kind and doing things, but she wasn't good at strategy. And I don't mean this to be a beat up fest, but she wasn't.
I don't take it as a beat up fest. I don't think it's like that.
I don't want the
keep
hemisphere
making-
Survivor to think that.
I think you keep making this argument that we've had in the past, where like you're making the argument that like she didn't act all crazy, even though she isn't. You keep making that argument, but what we're saying is, it doesn't matter, as long as she knew going in, I'm not going to be able to do anything but act crazy, and so I'm going to use that as much to my advantage as I can.
But that's my point.
And leverage it.
What did she leverage?
That is the argument you should be making, that she didn't live up to the potential.
I've been asking you the entire episode here. What did she do?
That's what we're saying. She didn't convert.
Yeah, she didn't convert.
She didn't convert.
Ever.
But you're saying
Not
she
ever,
gave up
but not
the
enough.
potential to convert.
Yeah, you're stripping her
Ever.
from her potential. You're stripping her of her potential to convert.
I'm not stripping
and
her of
Simi
her
and I
potential.
are.
I'm not stripping her of her potential. I'm not. But
I
here's
just-
the other thing.
I
Here's the
just
other thing.
don't think
do you
that-
think Jam Jam's in the pantheon of best strategic players of all time?
I think Jam Jam's a great player. I think he's great.
I don't think
strategic.
I don't think he's in the best hemisphere of all time from a strategy.
I think he might be one of the best social players.
Yeah.
of
I'll
all
give
time.
I'll
But I don't
give
know
him
that
that
he's
title.
necessarily
But
one of the best strategic
This is
players.
where I'm also going against Carolyn, is that like I'm not trying to even strip her of her potential, because I don't even think Jam Jam was one of the best of all time. So she wasn't even going up against one of the best of all time, and she still didn't do anything.
What is this argue? I can't follow here. I'm not trying to be an ass.
You guys both
Taylor's
said that
trying to-
Carolyn should have been the winner tonight, and I don't understand.
It depends
all
on
what
what
that's
you're
based
vote.
off
It
of.
depends on what you're voting for. If you want,
Okay, so tell me.
so what? This is what Carolyn is.
I mean, at least I'm not arguing that she should have been the winner. I'm arguing that she.
You
I
did.
think,
You
would have
said that.
convinced- No,
He
I
said
think she
that.
would have convinced me.
What?
He's saying he would have been convinced
I
to
said
vote
if
for
I
her.
was on the jury, I would have voted for her because she would have convinced me. That doesn't mean I necessarily.
Why
think-
versus Jam Jam, though? That's what I want to know from both of you.
Because I don't think that Jam Jam properly articulated how Carson didn't just carry him
But
through
so
all
then,
those
what are
scenarios.
you voting Carolyn for then?
It's just
I'm a kind of weird voter, but like I guess I'm like voting for her. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to articulate this properly, but I think I'm voting for her for like pioneering a potential exciting meta.
yes, yes, Yes.
What are we talking about?
Yes,
guys?
Simi, I'm down
What
for
are
that.
we? What
Kale,
are
what do
we
you do for me?
talking about?
What do you
I'm
do
down
for me?
for that.
I do a podcast with my friends
wait.
about Survivor. I'm a
Yeah,
meta
I
guy.
love.
Wait.
Carolyn has been
You're
such a
voting
good
for
entertainment.
Carolyn for pioneering a potential
Meta.
new way to
Yes.
play this game.
Yes.
Meanwhile, Jam Jam has been on the right side, as Carson articulated, of 90% of the votes. You
Yeah,
can
yeah.
take-
He was.
We'll get into that. We'll get into Carson in a minute.
0.5,
We'll get into Carson in a minute. Because Carson was a little bit too much during the tribal, to be honest with you. Because
his numbers.
He was funny. I liked him.
No,
there.
no, it was great. It was great TV, but like the coaching of Carolyn, the needing to say all the numbers. I don't know.
It's that final juror position that's always so
It's
important.
pivotal. Yeah, of
it's
course.
it's pivotal.
I texted
and it,
you this. I texted you.
Yeah, and and he has such a sway on what's going on. And Kale, the thing that you texted me was that he is going to influence what these people think. And he was very high on Jam Jam leaving that island. Jam Jam was coaching him, being a very human person, and Jam Jam said to the audience, "Is this a good move? Is it a bad move? I don't care." And to be honest with you, the fact that he was that honest about it and that I don't know, that genuine about it, I might be making a bad move right now, but this is a human thing. Those are the best moves sometimes, and in this case, I think it really helps.
I'm going to be again. I think I'm going to come away from this podcast tonight as one of the more hated podcasters out there. So it sucks that I'm going to play that role. But one, I think I think Jam Jam went into that knowing Carson had absolutely zero chance. So why not play the better role? I mean, I do think he wanted to genuinely help him, but I think he also knew in the back of his head there's really not much I can do right now to help this guy.
I think that definitely influenced.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know why that would make you
If Carson
hate it.
was like
What?
Why would that make you more hated?
Me?
No,
Yeah, that's not a bad.
No,
it's not a bad take.
I'm
You're right.
taking the cynical viewpoint of everybody tonight.
No. We agree with you.
Yeah,
There's
agreed.
no way he would have done that if Carson was.
It was a win-win-win.
closer to being good.
Okay. All right. So
Well, because I think
Carson has
Jam
to be
Jam was like,
horrendous
I'm
for
good.
that to
Jam
happen.
Jam's like, I'm good at fire. I know Carolyn's good at fire, and Heidi seems to be pretty decent at fire. And turns out she was amazing at fire. We don't know how many minutes it would have taken the other two, but I think Carson loses to all three of them handedly. And if Jam Jam has that read, you're gonna take away from Carolyn right now in this. Is that what you're gonna do? When you said maybe, were you gonna say that
I said we have
maybe
no
not
idea.
Carolyn?
We have no idea. I was gonna say his fire was brewing.
Do you know what I'm saying, Simi? Are you
His fi-
feeling this right now?
No, dude, the fire was brewing Carson. So you would have had to still been decently quick.
I
on
think
those
you're
two other
right.
two
I
people.
think you're right
Yeah.
that Jam Jam had the read that everybody there had a better fire than Carson, and Carson was likely going into fire. Therefore, Carson loses fire. But regardless, it was a good human moment, and yeah, that is the cynical take. But I did like that. I thought it was a nice little touch.
I'm gonna be honest. When I saw that, I was like, I think Jam Jam's got it.
That's it.
Win.
The win.
That was
It was a
final
good
human
confessional.
feud, that was a real hammering it home.
Yeah, Simi, I agree. That was a good
He
confessional.
had the most confessionals in like the last, I think, 10 years. Jam Jam.
What do you mean?
Did
Oh,
this season.
really? Did you?
Yeah.
Is that
He
like
had-
an
he-
actual stat?
Yeah, he entered the night with 68, and there hasn't been 80 since I think it was Boston Rob.
So
I'm sorry, Tony from Cagayan. I'm sorry.
Cagayan or Tony
Yes.
from Winners at War?
No, not Winners at War. Cagayan. Yeah, there hasn't
Wow.
been 80.
How many did he have tonight? Yeah, we don't know yet.
I mean,
I guess someone knows.
it's out there, but you had to assume he at least had 10.
Yeah.
He at least
Oh
had
yeah,
10.
for sure. I another one I actually really liked was Carolyn's when she was talking to the producer,
See,
which was a
see,
great callback. That was such a good circular. I love that stuff. That stuff is romantic to me.
Listen, but I see this is where I was gonna jump down your throat a bit. I even was reading it. They put Jam Jam's post Carson tribal council. They put Jam Jam's first because they want to misdirect. They want you to forget about what was happening because the jurors were all going this, that. What the jurors were all saying about Jam Jam was fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
Then they go to Heidi, where they really just talked about her fire, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And then they went to Carolyn again as another misdirect. And then had the nice intimate moment with the producer. It had you eating it up a little bit, but at the same time, I knew what the jurors were saying more about Jam Jam at that point in time was still mattered more. And that's what I feel like you guys are getting lost a little bit here.
This is what Kale wants to.
I want to.
You go first.
No,
you go.
go.
This is what Kale wants. I think Kale wants to stomp on us, on me personally, but. Kale wants to say, you took the bait. You ran with it. And I had the best read the entire time. And Kale, you picked the winner. And I'm proud of you. I came out of here from the get-go. You're not getting more from me out of it. There's nothing else I can do but say you did great. Good job. But this whole bait, you took the bait, you didn't. If you think that they conned me and I'm a fool, then that's your perception of it. But we know you have a bad perception of Carolyn, so we know we can't trust you.
I didn't have a bad perception of Carolyn. I think I was spot on with Carolyn. It's basically what it is.
Do you think Carolyn is like akin to Nora?
No. I think Carolyn is, to be quite honest with you, is a character we've never seen before. That's what Sim's voting for right now.
That's what I'm voting for, baby.
But Toast, that stakes away. I've been dissecting this game with you for a number of years now. And for you to take away and not give your vote to Jam Jam, who was on the right side of, Carson said it, 90% of the votes, and he was doing it, and I said, like, the other piece of the puzzle here was that Carson went and went to the jury and went to Ponderosa, and everybody thought he was the king. So they wanted to hear out of Jam Jam why Carson wasn't the king. And you're saying, Sin, that you didn't understand that. What I'm saying is that whole duo didn't work without Jam Jam's ability to have better relationships than Carson did.
Yeah, but he didn't really convey that, is what Simi's trying to say.
That's what I'm trying to say.
I disagree. I disagree. I think his kill shot.
We all agree because we saw it. We watched it. I'm just saying Simi is saying that he didn't convey that.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but to battle that more is that you didn't hear the whole.
Exactly.
Night.
Well, we know we didn't hear the whole night because
saw.
Because Danny's justification for voting for Heidi was that the story that Heidi gave for voting against Danny was something, and we didn't, and they never showed that.
Yeah,
so I mean, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But because if you're gonna then film a reunion afterwards and then reference something that just happened, you better hope that the editing team would keep the thing that's being referenced there, or cut out the second question.
They gotta go back to live reunions. They must.
I love it.
Can
Can we, as a group, really quick, because Kale, you and I get lost in the minutia. I loved this season. I want to bring it up a little bit. I want to bring this up positive.
I'm with
Kale.
that too.
Kale, you and I, we sometimes we don't see eye to eye, but we always come back the next week and we always hash it out. And on that note, on the non-cynical note, best podcaster in the hemisphere, Kale. I say good job to you, and let's celebrate a really good season. Honestly, I thought throughout the whole time we had great characters.
All right, so
we had a great tribe.
So let's dive into it because there was a couple polls that I've been seeing. I think it was after. When did I start asking if this could be Final Five? Like two episodes ago?
Top 5?
Yeah, top 5.
Like 2 weeks ago.
A lot of people have this middle of the road to maybe below average, and
What?
We're in an echo chamber here, folks.
like
that seems crazy to me.
So
what's the argument?
Yeah, I don't know. This has been very good for me.
The argument is the production. Honestly, the intuition, not the intuition, the institution, I should say, of these fake idols that production threw in there. That's never been done before. A lot of people are like, "This is."
Oh, get over it! Honestly.
So I'm of the same realm to say get over it, because to me, it didn't take away from Matthew still making a fake idol that they paraded around today,
which was great.
Yeah, which was fantastic. I mean, listen, I take a step back and I ask, are we just viewing this in the lens that I do think this is clearly above and beyond better than 41, 42, and 43?
Yes.
far and away.
Are we looking at it too closely in the lens that we're not comparing it to the 2 decades prior?
No, okay. So, Kale, you're saying like, oh, is this just a nice palate
Recency
cleanser
bias, yeah, and
and
palate
a little
cleanser, yes.
and a little bit of recency
No,
bias?
that's a better quality.
A palate cleanser.
I honestly don't think so. I
think it was good.
Either. So
I
I
don't
genuinely
either.
think this is a high quality season.
I think that. Sorry.
I just want to
You
say
go.
one thing about the fake idols too. I think an important thing about the fake idols, especially if they're introduced by the production, the reason I think that they are good in the way that they did it was they never gave a player an idol or gave them the opportunity to find an idol, and then it ended up being fake without player intervention. Like the birdcage, a player has to set that up, has to do that first before you can find a fake idol. On top of that, I think it's really good for seasons because I think it does stuff to encourage more fake idol play.
Mhm.
Because people are like, oh, people are going to think that the fake idols are just in these producer things, but I'm going to do them too. And to remind them, hey, idols can be fake.
Correct, but to play devil's advocate, and Toast, you can
I'm happy to hear it.
contend to this, like, all of that is that taking away from the construct that made this game and built the foundation of what this game has been all about. I again, it's almost a theory is that have we reached an exponential growth of production's influence into the game when the bedrock of the game is the social gameplay between the players. To me, I'm torn. Because I actually think that shined this season, to be honest.
Yeah.
In comparison to other seasons. But at the same time, yes, the production has had a ton of influence comparatively.
They have.
I hear what you're saying, Kale. I think, though, that these fake idols are actually good for social play because they, that is a facet of social play of knowing who and how I want to get this fake idol to another person because it is ultimately a player getting a fake idol to another player.
My argument in favor of it would be both an argument for it and an argument against what we've had for the past 3 seasons. What the argument for it is that we saw 3 different ways that this played out immediately. Like Danny had a different way, then Carolyn had a different way. Brandon was the one who found it on the other. Everyone had a different way of playing this out. Some did it well, some did it better, some did middle of the road. It was all different, and it was all, off the cuff. And it was really interesting to see how people would react. What we've had in the past 3 seasons is people having to basically vocalize out loud in a public setting, I have the idol. And that's not great. Now, if we compare it to old seasons, it's a little bit different. You're giving them something that was manufactured by players originally. So I see the argument because you have these levels of increase in the gameplay that are completely player driven.
And those are the best. Those are the best moments. Toast.
Yeah,
and I think
I agree. I agree. Those are the best moments.
That's the contention, I think. But
which is fair.
Which I also agree is fair because, like I said, I agree that those are the best moments. But the problem is, I guess, as viewers, what I believe we have to realize too is that TV, trends in general in life, everything gets stale at a certain point. So sometimes things have to be fabricated and edited, and like things have to change.
I think the game has a lot of movement in itself, though. I mean, in just the way that characters are, or people are. We haven't seen nearly every combination of who people are. That's one of the reasons why I was so impressed with Carolyn this season, is because she's a player that we've never seen before. I think Jam Jam is very unique in a lot of ways too, by the way. But like Yao Man making the fake idol, and then Bob Crowley coming up in Gabon and making one that actually looks like a real idol and pawning that off as a real idol. That was all organic, just players coming to the table with something, which is nice. And I agree. It's elevating the game without production interference, which is great. Simi, your counterpoint.
I hear the argument that it feels like it almost cheapens the moment, the excitement of getting somebody with a fake idol. the thing I would argue against it to people who say that is, and I agree with you, it does to some extent, but unfortunately, the way a game like this goes with such high visibility, I mean, they're literally putting it on TV every season, is that I think it is inevitable that it will trend towards safer and safer play, which we've seen in the last 3 seasons is extremely safe play, which is made for boring seasons. And so I think that there needs to be some leeway for production to say, hey, gameplay, encouraging gameplay to be more exciting by doing things like these fake idols. And I think that is worth the slight cheapening of when you would potentially get somebody with one of those fake idols.
And you say potentially one of the variables that you're trying to assess a value on is that our players that are actually coming to the table now a lot more well versed in this game as a whole. A lot of the reasons that some things happened and were player orchestrated in the fashions that there were marketably better players in one group and lesser players that didn't really understand the construct of the game on the same season, and those people played off the other people, which caused these oh my god moments.
Yeah. I mean, I thought a great oh my god moment was in the reunion with Jamie. I mean, the only reason we know the only reason why she herself didn't know, even when she went to Ponderosa afterwards and Kane has the fake idol with her, is because Matt also has a fake idol from the birdcage, but it's not the same one. It doesn't look similar because Matthew actually made a fake one organically. So it's a brand new looking fake idol,
which was a great moment,
and it was great.
It was great. Yeah.
But Jeff just teed it up so well. Just as a side note, I mean, he was like, "Who had an idol?" But Simi, your hand is not raised high enough. It was like this. I had an idol. Jamie's like, I did. I had an idol. And then
she told her story for like 5 whole
smiling.
minutes.
I know. I was like, oh my God, just build it up, please. Keep going. And then boom, it crashed. And I think she was upset.
The producer said we gave her the dodo. We couldn't get her during the season. We gotta get her.
We are not leaving.
The producers had a target on her fucking forehead.
They built her edit up for that reunion.
For the reunion moment. It was a great moment.
Honestly, great moment, like entertainment wise. They must hate her.
Yeah, they're mean.
Hate her.
They're mean. They're almost as mean as Kale on this podcast.
Listen, I said, I think we have to allow for production to encourage more exciting gameplay. Otherwise, we're just going to continue to trend towards safer and safer gameplay, and that's not what we want as viewers. It's always going to be this balancing act of the players want to play really safe, and the people at home don't want them to.
I know. Just to put a bow on this, chapter of the conversation, I am torn, because, Survivor's had the most beautiful evolution, I think, of any, television there ever has been, to be honest with you. The iterations that we've seen have been incredible. Redemption Island, Exile Island, returnee seasons, fan versus favorites. There's been so many different iterations, right? I don't mean to pull it back to a pessimistic viewpoint. I do think they're failing in this new era because we have been given the same exact thing 4 seasons in a row without any returnee season, and now they're showing they're not going to do another returnee season. I don't know why they're not doing a returnee season. I don't get it.
Well, technically they kind of are doing a returnee season because if you didn't notice at the very end, Bruce is his name, right? And we knew that there was a reason they kept showing his injury in the previews to Jeff's podcast, right? Yeah. They were just like, he's here, boom. He's here still, boom. He's coming. Back. He's coming back. He didn't leave the islands, I don't think. I mean, he just had to wait there 26 days,
I know,
right?
We saw him for what? We saw him for an hour?
And you're going to see him for more.
Maybe
go again.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I mean, listen.
It's really upsetting that they're not doing, at least, the fact that they're not even doing something special for 45 really makes me upset. Like, at least do, like, a themed or something.
I'm just so surprised that they're not doing anything.
But they're loading up this new era because Jeff, on how many occasions this episode did he say, Isn't this something we should all do? Should we all apply to Survivor? Tell them, Heidi. Tell them, cast. Apply to Survivor. And I'm all for that. I'm all for that.
Yeah, but what is that?
Why
what
are
is
we
that, what is that
loading up?
pushing for though, Toast? What is?
I
what is
don't
that pushing
know.
For?
I don't
That's
know.
pushing for the longevity of the show as a whole, which I'm in for. Yeah, I'm in
Yes.
for that.
If that's what it is, it's great. If it's
That's at least part of it. I'm worried though. I am worried that Jeff is really taking this new era thing to heart. Like
the new era is a thing. I agree, Simi.
I'm
the
worried
new era
that
is a
people pre-40 or pre-41 are not going to get returnees. I'm worried
that
they're
would
not
be
gonna bring
that
it
would
back.
be horrible. That would be so.
I mean, maybe
horrible.
like I think.
No,
actually,
Simi, I'm with you. I think that Jeff is all in on the new era. I think
I'm
it's
worried that that's the case. I think more likely, and this is me being optimistic, is that you have a new era versus old era. Like you keep calling it new era,
Maybe.
new era, so that you have a new era versus old era.
Maybe.
Season. But I'm
Maybe
worried
there's been
that
no
he's not
signs.
even
There's been
gonna
no
do
signs.
that.
There's been no signs of anything. There really has not been any signs of anything. Now listen, I don't know. I am very curious to get in the ear of somebody because I like CBS's other flagship show that they've now conveyed onto CBS, but has been owned by their subsidiary MTV. Obviously, is The Challenge, right? And The Challenge's makeup almost routinely has been on returnee seasons. There's people that have, Johnny Bananas has won the show 8 times or 7 or 8 times, and he's been on it, 15 times. Like, I don't know if Jeff Probst looks at The Challenge and said, we're different than that. And, now he wants to steer away from it because you get all these, newer moments. And I don't know if he feels
the reason I sorry, I really hate to cut you off. I know you were, I just agree with your point fully. So that's why I jumped in. That's the only reason.
It's tough to understand.
I think that there's like, we don't get Jeremy Collins in second chances if we don't have second chances. We don't get some of these players. If Kelly Wentworth only came out one season, she would be a completely forgettable player. In San Juan del Sur, she gets kind of voted out because she has a bad tribe swap and her dad is not great at the game, but she's great at the game. And we would have lost that opportunity. There's so many people that come back and they're actually like they come back and you're like, they had all the pieces there and then like, or maybe they didn't and they just had a bad shakeout and then here they are here to play. And it's not only just the people that come back and win, like Kelly Wentworth hasn't won, but she came back and she's like a really prominent figure in the Survivor community because of that. And she wouldn't have had that opportunity. I mean, Boston Rob didn't make the merge. So like his first go around. So it's like we lose out on these players.
The top 10 seasons of all time, you got to at least say half of them are returnee seasons, right?
Yeah, they have an edge because
Right?
you get these characters that you really like, and then
Yes.
you invest in them, and then you want to see how they evolve. Like you want to see how Christian Hubicki is doing right now.
Yes.
You want to see these characters right now. You want Dom to come out and be like, am I going to play the same mafioso game? Or am I going to learn from what happened last time and maybe like, or go even harder and get rid of, Wendell?
Not only that, not only just being able to see characters that you love again, they just play so much harder. Like it's just such a more exciting season when they do that stuff. I mean,
I'm just scared. I'm just a bit scared, to be quite honest.
Well, I have to ask you guys, would you be satisfied if you got a returnee season, but it's only new era people?
I don't know. I would be dissatisfied just because it would mean that we're not getting them.
Yeah. So if that's what it means, Sam, I'm with you 100%. Like the reason I even bring this point up, and I hate to have this pessimistic view coming off of what I believe to be a top 10 season. I really do believe that it was a top 10 season. But again, I'm a bit torn on that because I don't know if it's just a palate cleanser. I don't know, and I hate to build the.
Let me tell you why I like this season. Because I'm
good. I need fuel. I need more fuel.
Listen, I'm all for like a great tribe. Like a great cast. Everybody has like a role. Everybody's doing something cool. But I also really like case studies in Survivor. Like one example, like Boston Robin Redemption Island. Some people hate that season. When I say some people hate that season, I mean most people hate that season. A lot of people don't. I
was-
love that season.
It was,
I think
and
it's a
I get
case study.
exactly what you're going to talk about, and I'll let you flesh it out. But like, the reason people hate that season so much is that a large majority of the cast never
They
had
can't-
any
they don't have a
agency or
chance.
access to any
But
agency.
but that's not the story. The story is
agree.
Boston Rob. And if you don't like Boston Rob, you're not going to like the season. But if you do, and you want to see somebody mastermind and get around all of these players when he should be the first person voted off, it's crazy. You see how one person just does everything they need to do to get it done. That's an interesting story. It just is a great story.
You wanna
And
know what's-
here in this season, what we saw was a very good starting tribe and a case study in these three players that came together and made this season their season. It wasn't as single-handed as Boston Rob. Jam needed Carson and Carolyn. Carolyn needed both of them and all three. But they did such a good job weaving between the interdynamics that have been forced in these new era seasons with three tribes, coming in at the bottom of the pack and convincing Soka only at the end during Jam's questioning that they were not in control. It was Tika in control. The
Well,
whole
I think they
audience
knew that.
knows
I think-
Tika's
I
in
think Heidi
control.
I think Heidi just didn't.
Well,
understand
regardless,
that
the
point.
point is that we saw a very interesting group of three people come
Yeah.
together from one tribe and outmaneuver two bigger tribes in a way that was convincing and compelling TV to me. I liked
They
it.
played the middle probably better than anybody's done it before.
It was great. It was a really good case study in that, and I think it was excellent. And that's why I like it. I'm okay with just Tika, guys. I'm
And
okay.
I think that's not even. I think the half of why this season. I think I agree with you because I like that aspect of it. But I also think we had a ton of really exciting moments of blindsides of plays outside of tribal being made on the beach and things like that. Like it is undeniably. There were a ton of really.
It was
exciting moments
eventful.
during the
It was
season.
eventful, is what you're trying to say.
Yes, absolutely.
I agree.
Yeah, and again, I sit here being torn with it because I agree with you 100%, and you could say there's case studies with really how we analyze Carolyn tonight. We have two staunch different viewpoints of what her
And I
true
love
value
that.
was 100%.
I'm happy we disagree on this, obviously,
100%.
because
These
what
were
it means is we're both perceiving a show that we really like, and we're looking at it through a different lens.
Mhm.
And the show, we're watching the same show. Like, we are looking at the same things happen, and we have very different perceptions of it. And that's awesome because that's part of it too. We're the jury in this case. We're the ones judging the TV, and we can't all get behind the same thing. And that's great sometimes because it means that there's still stuff there. Like, it's still stuff there to parse out.
100%. I don't know. To tie the bow on this piece of the conversation as well. It's a bit scary because I just believe, and I should say, I just really hope that, again, I've been under the impression that it should be a Legends season 50, right? And I have no reason to believe that it shouldn't be that, but they're running out of time now, to be candid with you. If 45 is going to be a newbie season, they have 6, 7, 8, 9, 4 more seasons before 50. And you and I have spoken about Second Chances is one of our favorite seasons of all time. And it's a layup, in my opinion, to do another Second Chances Part 2. It's a layup to do Heroes Villains, which is considered potentially the best season of all time. It's a layup to do that. I mean, they've had some trouble building up true villains. I think that's one of the other issues that's been going on over the last couple seasons, right? There's really not been true villains,
Definitely.
which makes good TV. It's funny. This is complete side topic, but what I was watching to see what was trending on Twitter as Survivor was going on, and I don't know if you know that Vanderpump, the whole thing was going on right at the same time as this going on, and it had beaten out Survivor on the trending list. Vanderpump was 2, Survivor was 3. But the reason Vanderpump is getting these great ratings is that people are fiending over the fact that there's a massive villainous situation going on. That's what makes great TV.
Yeah.
It's Survivor missing that. element. I don't know.
I think I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think one optimistic take that I might have on this is if it is in the realm of possibility that production has realized, hey, we're only going to be able to do one really exciting season, setup wise before 50, which we want to be a really big one. And so maybe they're thinking that 45 is just a little bit too far away from 50 to really build that hype. And maybe they want to do it only, 2 seasons out from that 50 so that it's closer to building the hype between them. Because if you do it at 45, it's like you might get some hype, and then more newbie seasons, maybe it cools off, and then you have to bring it back up to 50.
No, dude. I just give us the season, damn it. Like
That's what I agree with you, and I totally hear you.
They could give me
trying to come up with some scenario of how they would
could
be
do
doing
second chances to heroes, villains to, and I think heroes, villains. The problem is that there really isn't too many villains. I think that's the problem.
One little pushback on that is that sometimes it's just the way that Survivor puts people in the villains camp that is interesting. Like Coach thought he was a hero. When he's put on the villains, it was hilarious. He was upset about it. Sandra raises her hand and says, I'm actually a hero. I'm on the wrong side. And look how it went for her. She got all the heroes voting for her to win. Some of it is just like once you give them that tag, they're going to run with it. If you give Jam Jam the villain tag, I guarantee you see some crazy stuff out of Jam Jam because he can do it. He can do it.
We've talked about this in the past.
I agree
This
with
is
that,
why
actually.
I think we need to go back to more themed seasons. Because I think it encourages interesting play. It's that,
But Simi,
give them the name and they're going to fulfill it.
what's interesting about that too is that people are clamoring for a themed season when that is a production intervention in a sense. It's a constraint.
I totally agree with you.
It's a constraint that production is levying against the cast, right? Conform to what you are. Are you beauty? Are you brain? Are you all of them? And that's what your final tribal is going to be about. Like that is a parameter that is set around people, right? The same way that something like a fake idol that's in the game inherently is. So I don't know why people have a problem with one and not the other. We want some of these theme seasons to come back.
Yeah. Also, just this is a much smaller piece of my complaint about not having theme seasons, but this was a great season for me. I love this season. But in 4 years from now, in 6 years from now, how do I talk about this season to people and have them know which season I'm talking about? Like, you hear in our conversations, we're like, oh, remember at Cagayan, or remember in Heroes versus Villains, or remember
here we
at
just say 44 now. Now we just say 44.
Like, but in 6 years, I'm not gonna remember the number.
No,
honestly,
I mean,
that sucks too. Like
that's another element.
We
That's
wanna
another
have these
element
conversations.
of what's happening there. I mean, I don't know. There's probably a multitude of different things that's leading it down this path. But I don't think there's any reason.
We got to get more positive after this. I really loved this season. I
No,
like what we're doing, but I don't mean to be. I'm just
we need to
thinking
think about
out
this stuff
loud.
though, because we got to talk about the future of the show.
You're right, Simi. You're right.
1,000,000%. At the end of the day, this season was built on the backbone that, again, I think I would like for us to do. I actually thought of the idea was that we can all do a sit down where we do a draft. We all have one tribe. We have to pick 3 males and 3 females on in each tribe, or just 6 people in general. And from the 4 seasons, 41, 42, 43, and 44, and see who can come up with the best tribe and culminate in making a returnee season. And the reason the reason that I feel like we can do that, but the reason I even brought that up is that, again, I think 44 offers a multitude of different people to bring back. I mean, that's what
but we have had, this is the thing that is like frustrating about the whole thing. And I'm the one that said we should start, not complaining, but we've had great characters through all of these new era seasons. Absolutely. We've had good characters, but something is missing in the formula. I really liked one of the things that I think is positive about this season is that it wasn't a bitter jury at all. I think that was that. I think in however you want to classify bitter jury, I just feel like the jury's motivations seem pure. And I'm saying that when they didn't vote for the person I wanted them to, you know?
Yeah.
So you know that I'm telling the truth. I think that they voted with what they thought was what they wanted the face of their season to be in a way that actually spoke towards the game in a positive way. It doesn't seem like the last couple of seasons it was like that wholeheartedly. And maybe it was a mixed bag along the way. But this season, I think everybody was genuine. I think everybody I don't know. I really did like this season. I thought it had interesting characters, interesting perspectives, a very interesting, complicated tribe that came through clutch time and time again. It was a great season. I thought it was a great season. I'll say I'm saying it out loud. I thought it was a great season. Great.
Yeah, there you go.
Great season.
I agree. And I think it's one where I cannot wait to see if there is such a thing as fraternity season again. I can't wait to see a Carolyn come back. I really can't wait to see a Jam Jam come back. Can't wait to see a Carson come back. Danny almost got to the villain role. We talked about that. He almost
He
got
was
to
on
the
he was on the road.
He was on the path to becoming the villain role. But there's a multitude of different characters that can come back. Matthew, I thought this guy was going to be a rock star out there when he made his fake idol.
He was
Yeah.
gonna be. He was gonna be.
He was gonna be so much fun to watch. I'm so sad he got evac'd.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then Bruce is the big winner here.
Yeah.
yeah. How did
First
Bruce
fraternity.
get back in?
Matthew just played too long, apparently.
Yeah.
Just 2 days too long. God. I think what's interesting to me is that this was such a good season, and like you said to us, we've had great characters in the last 4 seasons, but for some reason this season really hit, and I don't know exactly what it was and what about this season. I don't know if we just got lucky or if production is learning from mistakes or from their experiences in those earlier seasons and pushing it in a better direction. But I'm really excited to see if they can keep it up, because I mean this season was an absolute blast to watch, like incredible.
I wanted to pose a little question to you guys too. It's not super important, but it has to do with the way that seasons have been trending. The 4 role, the 4 role. It's backwards over here. The Carson, the Jesse. Are we seeing this sort of like not stigma, but like this characterization come through where this person is the fallen angel? The person who we think is going to win, or at least the cast views as like the biggest threat, and then they fall through.
I understand what you're saying, but in 41 you could say probably that Ricard was that character, and
he was 5.
And he was 5. And the reason I even point that out is that the end game is ridiculously tough to navigate. I mean, you need to have an idol. You need to have some type of organized alliance where you have an out that doesn't get you voted out. You got to win that last immunity. That last immunity is so fucking big. It's the reason huge. Jeremy wins second chances. Is because he wins that immunity challenge.
Totally.
Jeremy's not viewed in the same. I thought about this whole thing. Jeremy's not viewed in the same fashion if he doesn't win that immunity challenge.
Yeah,
Tony's
but Kelly
not
is
an absolute legend if he doesn't associate himself with Wu, who takes him when he should never have taken him. It's like all of these small moments turn these situations into massive situations.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, what the fire does, it does give some people outs, is kind of what it does at the end of the day. So I don't know if you were saying that as more of a critique on the fire, or just pointing it out in general. But I think the fire is actually an institution that's kind of still needs to stay because it gives people an out.
Yeah, but the same archetype, not the same archetype, but a similar archetype of the Carson and the Jesse, the, intellectual, social, things like that, as opposed to the physically dominant. Even though Carson was pretty physical in the home stretch, and especially adept at puzzles, couldn't get through the fire the same way that Jesse couldn't get through the fire. And it seemed as though that was the only thing holding them back from the victory. You know?
Got to be practicing. You can't go.
He said he was.
Fire. I know.
He said he was, but you got to be excellent.
It sounded like also he got into the game and then he just tried to make fire in episode 1 or 2 and then stopped. It's like you gotta make a fire every day.
It's homework.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it
You gotta have 5 minutes in your bowl.
Carson potentially, if Carolyn somehow won that challenge, which she was just fire. There was one point she put one ball and she put the ball right behind it. She had no chance. She went plop and then plop because she it
She
was just
wouldn't
funny.
wait. Yeah, she was panicking.
But if Carolyn had won that, maybe she would have taken Carson to the end. So he may have had a 50% chance in that challenge. Honestly,
I don't think Carolyn was taking Carson.
I don't know, man. I'm telling you,
Carolyn
I
said that
don't
she
think
was.
she had. I don't think that was my whole dissection of her. I just don't think.
You're not listening to
think
the
she had the
words she
wherewithal.
says, though. Wait, so you don't think she had the wherewithal?
No, that's my whole thing.
That's not your whole thing.
Yes, it
If
is.
you changed the whole thing that she didn't live up to potential.
That was not living up to potential. Yeah,
That's not the same thing as
No,
wherewithal.
I'm saying.
Oh my gosh.
I'm
You're
saying
taking
the
agency
potential.
away.
I'm
You're
saying
taking agency away.
I'm not taking any agency away.
You
I'm
are.
saying she didn't do anything. I'm saying a character that has her makeup going into the game
We
can
can't
have
go
that
back to this
potential.
I thought I
We're
forgave
starting
you.
it for
I
a
thought I
year.
forgave you.
We're gonna have this argument till next season. We can't keep
Unbelievable.
doing it. All right, boys, we've been talking for a long time.
Here's
give
one
our-
thing. Here's one thing I will say.
let's-
If Carolyn goes back, rewatches the season, and I don't know if you'll be able to enter a fraternity season acting in the same fashion. She'll probably have something an aura surrounding her. She actually still might be able to, because she'll probably still be acting as crazy. She actually could probably flip the way she played the game. My whole point is that it wasn't there this season.
I just want to say that if I could talk to anybody right now on this podcast, I would pick Carolyn to talk to. I want to talk to you, Carolyn. I've been your supporter the whole time. Come on the podcast. Help us out here. Let's talk this through. I need help against Kale. I need you to help me against Kale. That's what it comes down
And
to.
I bring in Jam then. Then
Honestly,
we're good.
I think Toast, I think you should want to talk to Jam and have Jam defend Carolyn. Because
He'll convince me, most likely. Yeah, he'll convince me.
No, I think he'll convince Kale. I think he'll help you. I think he'll be on your side.
No.
Maybe.
He's got $1 million. He's got nothing but goodwill. All right. Well, we've been talking for a while here. I think we all agree it's a phenomenal season. If you guys want, let's give a little final thoughts here, and then we'll wrap up our finale episode. If you guys are watching at home, hopefully in the next week or two, we'd like to do a little episode where we do a little super season, like Kale was saying. We'll do a little draft for who we would pick out of these 4 new seasons who would come back. But boys, give me your final thoughts here on what we saw.
At the end of the day, my final thoughts are, again, I have this torn perception, because I really do think it was a stark difference to what we've seen, and really puts into perspective that these last 3 seasons were kind of a ball altogether. And that's kind of how I think I'm going to view them when this all said and done, is that 41, 42, and 43 were all mixed ball together. When you really dissect that, this Tika 3, what they were able to do, to me, this was old school Survivor strategy. It was an alliance that sat behind the scenes and worked the 2 other tribes against each other, and the other 2 tribes were incapable to realize what was really happening. I mean, this is old school Survivor. There really was no crazy influence from production through the post merge. This was a fantastic post-merge. Say what you want about the pre-merge, which I still think was fantastic. We lost some characters due to medevacs and this and that, and that sucks. But at the end of the day, I think some fantastic old school Survivor elements came into play, while also introducing new characters that we've never seen before with character backgrounds that are completely unique. So to me, it's a top 10 season of all time. That's what I have to say about it.
It's fair. I would say that I really liked the characters this season that we've discussed at length, right? You got Carson, who was great. I'm partial to Carolyn. I'm Team Carolyn. I thought and I think that Jam is a really good Survivor player. I think he's great at what he does. I value what he brings to the table. So I don't want to be perceived as detracting from him in any way. It just so happens that I would have wanted to vote for Carolyn in the way that I watched this show. I liked what she brought to the table. But that, I think, is the beauty of what we're talking about. I think that's the beauty of what we're talking about. There's two different ways to view everything. There's plenty of different ways, more than two. And that's what Survivor continues to offer. So I'm hoping that, moving forward, the new era tastes a little bit more like what we had this time. And I think another thing that just kind of like adds to it a little bit, like the problem is that I think 42 of 41, 42, and 43 was leagues above the other two. And they're already getting dumped into the same pile. That's that from my perception and recollection. Season 42 was an eventful season, but it's already being lumped in. Correct. Is that what 44 is doomed to? I don't know. I hope not.
Again, not to end the note on pessimism to what to what Simi said before. When even when you get rid of having names of the season and the fact that I know we've been like this for a while, but the fact that we're still in the same location, we can't even name it by location. Like, it lends itself to that potentially being the case.
Yeah.
Overall, great season. I enjoyed it.
I couldn't agree more with what you guys are saying. It was, look, I mean, we've been saying it all season. It's been a phenomenal watch. We've all enjoyed it immensely. I'm really hopeful that the producers get a taste of why this season was so good, because Jeff and the producers,
because they thought it was too. Yeah.
Before the season, Jeff and the producers said this is our favorite season in recent memory. So hopefully they have a good idea and they've formulated some strategy and some theories on why that is, and hopefully they can continue those things going forward, because it does seem like we're going to be getting a lot more new player seasons, at least for the next one.
It's building up to something. I have hope. It's building up to something.
Yeah. But I've had an absolute blast watching this season with you guys, talking about this season. I have an absolute blast live streaming the podcast with you guys this season. If you guys are watching at home on YouTube, give us a like, get in the comments, tell us what you thought about this season. Do you agree with us? Is it a top 10 season for you? Is it a great season? Is it a mid-tier season? Tell us why. We're happy to go back and forth with you in the comments and discuss that stuff. But other than that, boys, I'll see you soon for this Survivor draft pick that we're going to be doing. And, fingers crossed on our future for watching Survivor. Peace.